Hey everyone, I just thought I'd take a few moments to weigh in on a few things. It's amazing how when all of the political things starts escalating, there's a lot of people that start jumping on the prophetic bandwagon, which is a good thing. But many of them seem to be echoing or, riding on the wave that other forerunners, have presented some time ago. But again, it is what it is. I'm just thinking about all of the latest things going on, and just the again, just the dynamics of the whole political situation, and obviously there's just a lot of mixed emotions about so many things that are happening. I was just reflecting back over the years concerning previous presidential elections. And one thing that I've noticed is that there are uh, different prophetic words that have pointed to different presidents. Even when Obama came into office, there were prophetic words that depicted his coming into office, which I've always believed that uh, it could have been a good thing, and but didn't necessarily turn out that way. I think again, God gives people the opportunity to do the right thing, to make the right choices on behalf of the nation, not just the nation in the natural, but the nation in the spirit. And when those things don't fly that way, then it's an alternate course that we choose to take. I'm reminded of Samuel when he went and laid hands upon Saul, anointed him as king, and because that's what the Lord told him to do. And of course the people were wanting that type of government to come into play. And then unfortunately things with Saul had turned south, and so that presented a new dynamic. And I know that it warred on Samuel, because he's the one that anointed him and declared him as king. And usually that's how it is sometimes in the prophetic realm. There are people that will prophesy about certain people, coming into play, and they're really doing it because they believe that's what the Lord is saying, even though they, in their own mind, not might not go along with it. Because even when Samuel did that towards Saul, he was grieved over the fact that the people wanted that type of direction, but nonetheless, he did what the Lord had asked him to do because he was God's prophet. And so I see some of those dynamics happening today, just in many ways. Just the whole, a lot of things that are going on in our nation. And so when we start speaking about certain people that are rising up, a lot of times it might not be, the pleasure of the prophet, so to speak, in declaring who's who. And I don't know why, but there's just some people that there's all kinds of revelations that will come out about them. So it wasn't just Obama. I know when George W. Bush came into play, there were things that were prophetically spoken about him by many prophets, and a lot of that came into fulfillment. And now here we are again. So I always look at the background of what is being said and done, how the prophetic words are pointing. And so obviously in this time, more than any presidential candidate that's out there, there are a lot of prophetic words about Donald Trump, and there are a lot of people hopping on that bandwagon because of it. And it's sometimes it's always a mystery, because there's really things that are going on behind the scenes that we're more aware of, but yet God's not really interested in someone's opinion as much as he is just having them see and articulate what it is that's going on. And so, like many people out there, I've related with things about Donald Trump, not just in this year, but a few years back, saying that, the Lord gave me that prophetic word that he would trump the Trump, and that he would raise up someone who knew how to add and subtract. And this doesn't mean that there's people without fault or they don't have issues in their life. I learned a long time ago that God doesn't use perfect vessels, but he uses them with the intent of bringing them into perfection, and just bringing them into a place that would, end up fulfilling what he would have them to do. So It seems, again, I keep hearing many things literally daily about Trump, and I get so much flack about it. And I'm not really doing it because, oh, Trump is my choice. It's just things that I'm hearing by the Spirit. There are many other people out there, Lance and others, that related Trump to Cyrus and other people who, or other biblical characters, that seem to reflect certain things. The Lord has been speaking to me along the same level, even concerning Nehemiah's the wall of Nehemiah. When Nehemiah built the wall, that he used burnt stones to build the wall, and of course the big top story with Trump and others is the building of the wall. And so I see that as a reflection not only of a natural wall, and it's interesting that Nehemiah used burnt stones to finish off the wall, and I see that as a type of Trump as well. The people that would be utilized, the people that would be used, it would be, in other words, pieces that are rejected, and to establish a wall, and not necessarily be the pieces that you would want if you were building a wall. And so there seems to be something going on. And I think the building of the wall is just not a natural wall, but a spiritual wall. That we have to reestablish the borders in our own life, in our heart, in our mind, just all our senses, our sight, all of those are borders of access into our life, and God is wanting us to fortify those. So I look at all of those as types and shadows of what's going on in the natural. And so I just see all these many, many different things. Even in the meeting yesterday, you'll want to check it out. It's a video that will be posted soon called Love Rush Part 1. And just some things the Lord showed me about the present and the future. But again, I just saw these stones, and the stone that was rejected, and realizing that in other words, not only the stone that was rejected, but also that if we don't praise and worship, then even the stones will cry out. And I look at Donald Trump as a stone that's crying out. In other words, I believe God went to many different people, giving them the opportunity to step up to the plate and do what is expected in the sense of bringing things into an alignment. And so more often than not throughout history, we can see where God will go to the burnt stones, or he will go to those that just, are willing to do it, even though they might be considered just a rock in other people's eyes, and just have a hardness about it or whatever, but not necessarily being the pliable, forces or people that he looked toward to in other situations. So this is obviously a very unique situation and circumstance, but putting all that aside, I just see something glorious coming into play, even beyond Trump, even beyond others. In that sense, I know that all of this is a temporary. These are guardians to spiritual maturity. In other words, no matter how it lands, this isn't the ultimate government that God has for us. His people, His kingdom is the government. But even when Laura Ingraham recently came into Yakima, religion, see, is a big issue right now in this whole political scene, because religion has raised its head. So when Laura Ingraham came to Yakima, Washington, the Catholic Church, particular heads of the Catholic Church in this city, literally just stood against her coming here. And because she apparently is supporting Trump and just sees some things that are coming into play. And I don't think so much just, yeah, we're rooting for him, but these are the facts. This is what's going down. So they hated it. And so anytime I see religion rear its head against something or someone, then I'm always in check about that, because that always seems seems to be the litmus test for even historical things that happened in the past. Because ultimately, it was religion that nailed Jesus to the cross. However, it says, had the enemy knew who he really was, would have never gone there. And so I liken that to some things that God is doing now in this political field, and some of the very apparent things that are going to take place. And I don't see them all nice and neat. It's a bit sloppy, but I think at the end of it all that there will be a prevailing reality that will rise up and will create a liberty in this nation and your life in ways that we never dreamed. But we must understand that it isn't by might nor by power, but it is by the Spirit. So there is a level of wisdom and knowledge that God is bringing us into to see things from a heavenly perspective. And at the end of the day, it is the reign of heaven that we are looking for. It is that heart and mind. We're not looking for people to wave religious flags of whatever, because there's many people that carry a level of life and spirit of God in them, but that might not necessarily be apparent. I was thinking about how we always go in the past, we dig in the past of people's lives, and we use that as a foundation to say, oh, they're no good. If you were to dig in the past of my life, you would find issues that were not very pleasant. But yet here I am serving God, serving my King, and doing what I was always destined to do. But if you were to dig far enough, you would just say, well, there's no way. How could he be qualified to do that? So I do find it sometimes a bit disturbing and interesting how we try to look beyond or so far back, 20, 30 years or whatever, even 15 years, because that would really be the mark in my life, somewhere back there, and trying to just defame or put someone in a very negative light. So especially when it comes to the field of presidency, I think it really requires a discernment to see where they're at, what's going on, what God is doing in them. I wrote a piece about just the evolving, how people evolve in life. In fact, I wrote a book called Evolution of Another Kind. It was all based on how we evolve, how the nation is going to evolve. And I look Trump as someone who is evolving. It's almost like different things that are happening in his heart and his mind, and he's just taking it on. Does that mean that there are things that he does that, does wrong or stupid or whatever? No, it's all in there. It's in the mix. And so again, I'm just saying this not because I'm like, oh, this is my person or nothing like that. I'm just speaking what I believe that God is saying and doing, and we'll just see how it all comes together. But I said from day one that he is a plowman and that he is a forerunner like John, and that there would be others that would rise up in the wake of it all. And so it will be interesting to see how all of this happens. But in the end, I have no doubt that all of the pieces will come together. So anyhow, we just appreciate you being attentive to this ministry. We're in transition and just going from one level to the next, just as you are. And so we're just leaning into the future in ways that we believe are going to be totally edifying and uplifting in the kingdom of God. And mighty men and women of God are rising up in this hour, unlike any other time in history. So, so it's a good time. So bless you, and we will talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.